In this episode, we talk about the rapid rate at which trees are being cut in Mumbai and the concerns experts say this raises. We also talk about Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal being moved to Tihar jail. But first, we talk about Mukhtar Ansari's death. Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargava, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. Last week on Thursday, the jailed gangster-turned-politician Mukhtar Ansari died after he suffered a cardiac arrest in the Banda prison in UP. Ansari, who was a 5-time MLA and 63 years old at the time of his death, was lodged in the prison and convicted in a total of 8 cases, including those related to murder and rioting. Now, Ansari's death has not only made news because he was an extremely powerful and influential figure from eastern UP, but also because his family members have alleged that, according to Ansari, he was being poisoned in prison. In this segment, we speak to Indian Express's Asad Rehman, who has been reporting on his death for the paper. Asad, for those who might not already know, could you describe who Mukhtar Ansari was?
Mukhtar Ansari's primary credentials politically are that he was a 5-time MLA from Mau. Out of the 5 elections, he won 3 from prison, where he could not attend any rallies, any campaigning, and despite being absent even during the filing of nomination papers, Mukhtar won 5 terms as an MLA from Mau district. He's contested several other elections for MP and for Nagarpalika and for urban local bodies, but these 5 elections he won, apart from the political credentials, are also his criminal credentials, including a total of 65 cases lodged in the last 30 years. And out of the 65, 16 were for murder, 9 were under the Gangsters Act. And you can say that Mukhtar was a gangster who turned into a politician. And politically, he has great influence even after his death. He has great influence in eastern UP, which has other mafia members as well. Mukhtar being one of the most prominent ones out of them, was one of the most prominent ones. And his influence was not just electoral, but also social. He was considered as a dreaded criminal by the police, and while he was considered a very noble man by a lot of people in Ghazipur, which was his home district.
Right, and the fact that he managed to win 3 times from prison really kind of speaks to the hold he had over the region. So talk a bit more about that.
See, he won 5 elections from a constituency which was not his hometown. He won these 5 elections from neighboring Mau district. So it was not just that his influence was restricted to Ghazipur, which was his home district, or his hometown, which is Mohammadabad in Ghazipur. So his influence was across eastern UP, and he has support from the Muslim community. But to win 5 elections and 3 of them from prison while he was not even present to file nomination papers shows the kind of influence he has in the region, in the eastern UP belt, which is very close to Bihar.
Yana said you spoke to a lot of people in the region. What are the kind of things they told you about Ansari?
So the narrative among the people for the last few days that I was traveling in Ghazipur and the nearby districts was that Mukhtar was a person who helped the poor and went after the rich who were against the poor. Whereas if you talk to the government or the police, the picture painted by them is completely different. They treat him as a dreaded criminal, as one of the biggest mafia members in the entire state of UP, who was dreaded for his brazen crimes spanning over decades. And not just Mukhtar, his family as well has multiple cases against them. But despite that, they still have 3 other members who are still active lawmakers. So it's not just Mukhtar, but the influence that the Ansari family has in Ghazipur and in eastern UP is unprecedented and is surprising for an outsider. For someone who's had so many criminals, and there are stories of him committing murders, and one of the most popular ones being, the most prominent ones being Krishna Nand Rai's murder in 2005, who had defeated Afzal in an election and was the sitting MLA there from Mohammadabad. And he was killed in a the most brazen of murders near his village, where while Mukhtar was in jail and he had planned the murder and he had gotten the MLA killed by his henchmen and by his gang members while he was in prison, and it was a murder where they used hundreds of bullets, and the number of bullets that were drawn from the body of Krishnanand Rai also is more than 25. So despite all the criminal activities and him running a gang and the narrative in the village and in Ghazipur and in eastern UP is that Mukhtar was a messiah for the poor.
And Asad, do people across communities feel that way about him, that he was a messiah for the poor?
The support for Mukhtar Ansari, it can be seen that it's not just that the Muslim community supports him, but people from across classes and castes, like the Gupta community, which is the Banya community in Mohammadabad, which is his hometown. Even they are very supportive of Mukhtar and his family, and they say that he has helped business do well in the area. Then people from the Dalit community, the people I spoke to, they also say that Mukhtar helped a lot of people from their community, helped in marriages of women, and then also by being a mediator in a lot of local disputes over land and other issues. So the support for Mukhtar and his entire Ansari family is not just within the Muslim community, but it cuts across caste and class in at least Ghazipur and eastern UP. And that's very evident. If anyone were to visit Ghazipur, it's very difficult to find someone who would say anything against Mukhtar Ansari, despite all the cases that are there against him across UP, in Delhi and other places as well.
And Asad, you mentioned how what the UP government and the UP police have to say about him is very different. So talk about how that fits into the state government's larger clamping down on the gangsters in the state.
So since Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath took on power in UP, one of the main planks they've had is law and order, which also includes going after the prominent mafia in the state. This included Atiq Ahmed, who was killed in Allahabad while on live TV, and Mukhtar Ansari, Vijay Mishra, another Eastern UP mafia member. And there are several others which the UP government has gone after. And Mukhtar was among the most prominent of the mafia that the UP government has gone after. In the last 2 years, Mukhtar has faced 8 convictions, including in the murder case of Krishnanand Rai from 2005, which had been pending for 18-19 years. So the UP government and the UP police at this time and since 2017 has been very vocal about the fact that Mukhtar is nothing but a dreaded criminal and a gangster who had 65 cases against him and who was one of the main reasons why the UP law and order situation couldn't be controlled pre-2017. And now with the government claiming that they've put these gangsters behind bars and have gotten their conviction done in several cases, their plank is that this is helping improve the situation of law and order in UP.
And Asad, Mukhtar passed away on Thursday night. Tell our listeners what led to his death and what we know about it.
Yeah. So on March 22nd, which was approximately 4 days before Mukhtar's death, Mukhtar was admitted the Banda Medical College. Because Mukhtar had not been kept in a prison in Ghazipur for security reasons, he was kept in a prison in Banda district of Bundelkhand region, which is 8 hours from Ghazipur and eastern UP. So he was kept in Banda prison, and Mukhtar on March 22nd fell ill and he fell unconscious, and the jail authorities called up the local police station in Ghazipur, Mohammadabad, and told the police officers there that they must inform the family that Mukhtar has fallen ill. When the family visited Mukhtar in the hospital, Afzal Ansari, his elder brother and an MP from Ghazipur, was allowed to meet him. And Mukhtar alleged that he was being given slow poison and there was a larger conspiracy to kill him. And even before this happened, the family had applications in 2 courts, one in Banda and one in Barabanki, where a case against him is going on, saying that there is an orchestrated plan to kill Mukhtar while he's in prison in the next few days, and that he should either be shifted to a prison outside Uttar Pradesh or a state where the BJP is not in power. The courts had sought a report from the prison authorities, but just 3.5 days later, there was news that Mukhtar had again fallen ill and that he was being taken to the Banda Medical College once again. Then just half an hour later, after this news broke, there was news that Mukhtar had passed away and that he had suffered a cardiac arrest. After his death, his family wrote a letter requesting for a post-mortem examination by a panel of doctors from Weems, which was not entertained by the UP government. And his post-mortem examination was done by a team of doctors in Banda who gave a report saying that he died of cardiac arrest.
Okay, now his family says that the day he died, on Thursday basically, they got a call from him. Tell us about that call and its details.
Yeah. So family says that Mukhtar, on the day he died, he had made a call from the jail PCO to his son, and he spoke to his son and his son's wife, his daughter-in-law, and told them that he's not feeling well and that he's seriously unwell, and the family members assured that they will move court and treated at a better hospital. Then after this, he fell ill the same day, and on the phone, Mukhtar told the family members that this is a quote that the family has told several media persons, including me, that he said that body chali jayegi, but ruh yahi reh jayegi, meaning the soul will stay here and the body will go. So then just hours later, he again fell unconscious, was taken to the Banda Medical College where the doctor said he is dead. So these are the circumstances that led to his death and what the family has alleged, whereas the government has still maintained that there was no foul play, and 2 investigations have been ordered by one as per the jail manual, which is a magisterial inquiry, which will be done by Additional District Magistrate Rajesh Kumar, and one which will be a judicial inquiry, which will be done by the judge of MP-MLA court in Banda. So these 2 inquiries will be done and into the circumstances leading to his death and the cause of his death, and if there were any lapses on part of the prison authorities, and if any action has to be taken, then that will be taken based on these 2 separate inquiries, one on an administrative level and one on a judicial level.
And Asad, considering the kind of hold he had over the region, talk about the political reactions to his death and the allegations surrounding it.
Politically, Mukhtar was a very influential person, and both principal opposition parties in Uttar Pradesh, the Bahujan Samaj Party and the Samajwadi Party, both have demanded a high-level judicial inquiry into his death. And Samajwadi Party president and leader of opposition in the state assembly, Akhilesh Yadav, has even gone on to say that death of inmates and prisoners who are in custody of the government raises some serious questions about safety of, and it also leads to people's confidence in justice being eroded. So this is what Akhilesh Yadav has said. Then BSP Chief Mayawati has also demanded a high-level inquiry. Talking about the people who have attended his funeral saw a huge crowd, and it was not just people from Ghazipur, but people had come from neighboring districts and had come from far-off places, cutting across class, caste and religion, and it was not just Muslims but people from all communities were there. And talking about politicians and national leaders who met the family since his death or have made calls. Last night, Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi, who's the AIMIM national president, visited his house. Local MLAs, MPs from the Samajwadi Party have been regularly visiting his house and expressing condolences over his death to the family. And there have been other national leaders who've also been seen at their house and who've also visited the family since the death of Mukhtar.
And next we talk about Mumbai. Over the past few years, worsening air quality has become a major concern for India's financial capital. Now, as it turns out, this problem is only being compounded by the fact that it is also rapidly losing its tree cover. According to an RTI filed by the Indian Express, 21,028 trees were cut in the city over the past 6 years. And while BMC, the local civic body, also attempted to move and replant as many as 21,900 trees that were felled during this period, their final survival rate was only 22%. To talk about the reasons behind this and the concerns it raises for the city, we are joined by Indian Express's Pratip Acharya. Pratip, so tell us, what do we assess are the main reasons behind all these trees being felled in Mumbai?
So this whole lot of trees that have been cut over through this past 6-year period, like 2018 to 2023, have been cut due to for making way for several infrastructure projects, which includes the Mumbai Metro, the Coastal Road, the sewage treatment plants, the STP, the road widening projects that have been taken up in Mumbai. So because of this works, like around 21,000 trees have been cut.
Right, and during the same period we are talking about, we understand that the BMC transplanted 21,916 trees. But these transplants have not been successful. Talk about the reasons behind that and why this process is not working out.
So transplantation, as we know, is the process in which a grown-up tree is uprooted from its original place where it is based actually, and then it is being replanted in a different location, right? So the BMC's data shows that around 21,916 trees were transplanted between 2018 and 2023. So basically the BMC's figures show that the survival rate of transplanted tree is very low, so which is 22%. And the experts say the survival rate is very low because due process is not being followed while the transplantation is being carried out by the authorities.
And could you talk about the due process that they need to follow? What are the things that one needs to keep in mind while transplanting a tree? Because you're literally uprooting a tree and trying to give it a new life somewhere else.
So during the course of this story, I spoke with Dilip Shenai. He's an ecologist and a horticulturist who works in Mumbai. And he has done a number of transplantation works for both Mumbai Metro and the BMC. So like according to him, after a tree is uprooted, it needs to be treated with, growth hormones, fungicides, and it takes at least a 10-day period for the tree to recover from the shock of it is being cut or uprooted. Because according to the experts, that whenever a tree is cut or it is being uprooted, the tree, since it's being a living creature, it faces a shock. And it takes them at least 10 days to recover from it. And during this whole 10 days period, a tree needs to be treated with chemicals, with growth hormones, fungicides, so that, it can properly grow whenever it is transplanted. But the experts say, this process is not being followed. According to them, the trees that are being transplanted in Mumbai are being done at a very, very haphazard level.
And the other thing you mentioned in your piece is that there are basically two kinds of trees, softwood and hardwood. And hardwood trees like mango and palm, for example, are the ones that have a very low survival rate when they're being transplanted. And unfortunately, a lot of trees that are being transplanted are from this category. But Pratip, just talking about these trees being felled, do we know which areas are witnessing this the most?
So around 2,600 trees were cut in BMC's Ace Ward, which covers the Vikhroli-Kanjurmarg areas in the eastern suburbs. Around 1,584 trees were cut in K East Ward, that covers Andheri East. 1,318 trees were cut in N Ward, which covers Ghatkopar. And 1,318 trees were also cut in F North Ward, which covers the Sayan, Matunga, Wadala areas.
And these are all places one imagines where a lot of construction work is going on.
Yeah. So for example, in Vikhroli and Kanjurmarg, in eastern suburbs, there is the tunnel of bullet train is coming up. Similarly, in Andheri and Worli areas, the work of metro rail is going on. Then in areas like Bandra and the Andheri West, which is K West Ward that I said, there the STP works are going on, the sewage treatment plants. And any which way there is a lot of road works that is being happening all across the city. And for widening the roads, a lot of trees are being cut for that purpose also.
Yeah, and again, we are talking about this after we've heard so much about pollution in Mumbai going up, and there has been so much dust in the city due to construction. When you spoke to experts, what did they tell you about the kind of concerns these trees being cut raises?
Yeah, so basically, for example, Dr. Gurfan Beg, who is one of the chair professor in IISc, Indian Institute of Science. So he said that the trees have a leaf area index that absorbs the pollutants and keeps carbon footprint in check. As a result, the loss of green cover is also a major reason behind the city's growing pollution woes. Then again, I spoke with Mr. Raghu Murtugudde, who is the professor from IIT Bombay, and he told me something very serious. He told me that the Arabian Sea is warming for 20 years and that is changing the monsoon pattern. So if activities like haphazard cutting of trees could be controlled, then it may contribute towards mitigating the large-scale changes of the weather pattern, since increase in tree cover plays a major role in maintaining and keeping the temperature under control. So basically, we can clearly see that how the lack of the deteriorating green cover is also resulting to because the increased pollution levels, the increased temperature. And also one must not forget that this Mumbai is a coastal city and the sea levels are also rising.
And Prateep, the other thing is that Mumbai is a coastal city and that too a small one. And there are only so many places that one can plant new trees, right?
Right. I mean, it's a vertical city. At the end of the day, there is no, it's almost a peninsula because we are surrounded by sea from all the three sides. So, and it's a vertical city. And if you see Mumbai's map, I mean, it gets narrower as we go towards the south.
And Prateep, do we have a sense of just how many trees there are in Bombay right now?
Yeah, so there has been no tree census that has happened in Mumbai since 2011. So going by the last tree census that has happened in 2011, there are around 29,75,000 trees in Mumbai right now across the 24 wards.
And could you put this 29 lakh number into context? I mean, is this number enough for a city like Mumbai?
Actually, no, because if you have to go by the experts' comments and everything, so the Indian Institute of Science IISc had published a paper report in 2014 that said that the minimum number of trees to survive in a metropolitan should be 7 trees per human being. And going by the 2021 population estimates in Mumbai, 29 lakh trees, and we have a population around 1.5 crores, 1.7 crores. So it attributes to for every 4 person, there is only 1 tree. So there is a huge imbalance because we can clearly see that the number of people staying in the city is much more than the trees that we have. So which is actually not a very good sign. And also this is what going by the estimated figures. I mean, there is also floating population. There is also people who come from outside. If that is being considered, then the gap is going to be much bigger.
And in the end, we talk about Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, who was arrested last month by the Enforcement Directorate in the excise policy case. The agency claims that Kejriwal was involved in the conspiracy to favor certain persons and in demanding kickbacks from liquor businessmen in exchange of favors. Now, yesterday, a Delhi court sent Kejriwal to judicial custody till the 15th of April, and he was moved to Tihar jail, which is Asia's largest prison complex. According to senior prison officers, Kejriwal will be lodged in jail number 2, where majority of the convicts are lodged. When we spoke to Indian Express's Nirbhay Thakur, he told us what transpired in the court yesterday.
So basically, the Additional Solicitor General, S.V. Raju, who was representing the Enforcement Directorate, he sought Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal's judicial custody for 15 days. And the reasons he stated were that Kejriwal, he wasn't being cooperative and he wasn't sharing his passwords with the agency. And inside the courtroom, Kejriwal's wife, Sunita Kejriwal, and his party colleagues and AAP MLAs like Atishi, Saurabh Bhardwaj and Gopal Rai were sitting inside the courtroom. The counsel of Arvind Kejriwal, they did not oppose the ED's plea for taking Arvind Kejriwal into judicial custody. And before Kejriwal was produced in court, he told reporters outside the courtroom that what the PM is doing is not good for the country. So the hearing wasn't really lengthy, but in a nutshell, this is what happened inside the courtroom.
Now, in its remand application, the ED says that during Kejriwal's interrogation, the Chief Minister said that he was not close to Vijay Nair, who is one of the co-accused in the case, and that his interaction with him was limited.
So the ED also alleged that the CM said that Vijay Nair reported to Atishi and Saurabh Bhardwaj and not to him. And however, the ED alleged that the statements of Vijay Nair revealed that he stayed in a cabinet minister's bungalow and worked from the camp office of the CM. So the agency says that actually the CM is lying and that Vijay Nair is very close to the CM. The agency also said that they showed various sorts of evidence to the CM while interrogating him. But the CM said that I am unaware of all these things. So, for example, the ED showed the CM some WhatsApp chats showing the involvement of Vijay Nair in the alleged excise policy scam. And they also showed him evidence of more than 10 meetings of Vijay Nair with other co-accused people in the alleged scam. But Kejriwal said he was unaware of all of these.
He says that earlier, the ED had seized 4 mobile phones, including Kejriwal's. This had happened shortly before his arrest. Though, according to sources, he had switched off his mobile phone and has refused to share his passcode.
The senior officials linked to the case said that Kejriwal, during his questioning, had stated that he didn't share his telephone data because the ED would sort of get details of AAP's election strategy and pre-poll alliances, which Kejriwal didn't want to share with them.
Talking about the proceedings yesterday, Nirbhay tells us that Kejriwal's counsel moved a couple of applications in the court.
Firstly, they wanted to allow Kejriwal to get access to 3 books that he wanted to read: the Bhagavad Gita, Ramayan, and How Prime Ministers Decide by Neerja Chaudhary. They also moved an application requesting home-cooked food for the CM because he was severely diabetic. They moved an application seeking medication, a table, a chair for the CM. They also moved an application requesting the court to send directions to the jail superintendent to sort of permit the CM to use his own mattresses and his bed sheets. The court actually allowed all of these applications, and the court directed the jail superintendent to provide the chief minister with glucose, toffees, banana in case his sugar levels fall suddenly. The court also directed the superintendent to provide the CM with books, his notepad, and a pen. And the caveat here was that the court said that the accused will only be permitted to carry his books, etc., subject to scrutiny as per the rules of the jail manual.
You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was written and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava, and was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.